Most of us have probably heard the old proverb, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, or something along the lines of the father buys, the son builds, the grandchild sells, and his son begs. So this comes from the fact that about 70% of families will lose all of their wealth by the 2nd generation, and 90% of families will lose it all by the 3rd generation. So this is a huge problem, and the question is, how can you avoid the same fate? Hi, my name is Laurent Munier, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. Today, we're talking about 2 of the wealthiest families in recent American history. Number 1 is the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts, how they got started, where the families are today, and the different plans that have kept or not kept the wealth through generations. So we'll start with the Rockefellers. Obviously, Rockefeller is a name that's synonymous with wealth. You've probably heard of them. You might have used one of their businesses, or you might have even been to Rockefeller Center, Rockefeller Plaza in New York. John D. Rockefeller started the whole thing. He started Standard Oil, which is today ExxonMobil. And he built one of the wealthiest families ever in America. So for example, when he died, his net worth was equivalent to 1.5% of the total US GDP. So the fortune began in 1870 when he founded Standard Oil. The company would go on to control about 90% of the United States refineries and pipelines, and he would be the richest man in the world with an estimated $600 billion in today's dollars. So you might not immediately recognize Standard Oil, but you will recognize ExxonMobil and Chevron, which is what that has become. So the Rockefellers also developed one of the first major business trusts, which controlled Chase Manhattan Bank, which is now Chase Bank. So today, according to Forbes, the family is worth about $10.4 billion, which is spread out around 200 family members. David Rockefeller passed away just recently in 2017. He was 101 years old, and he was the most notable family member of this modern era. He was the wealthiest in the family with a net worth of about $3.3 billion. He was also the world's oldest billionaire at that time. He allocated most of his fortune to a charitable cause, and his son, David Jr., now chairs the family foundation. So other descendants of the Rockefellers include Ariana Rockefeller and retired politician Jay Rockefeller. It's reported that they've donated over $500 million to just different charitable causes, and the family's tradition of philanthropy is still ongoing today with the Rockefeller Foundation. So various Rockefeller family trusts have funded projects like in the arts or in conservation, in healthcare, and in international trade. And so this is why we're talking about them today and why it's relevant to this channel, because we get a lot of people asking about the Rockefeller method. So here we go. Actually, before here we go, I have to say that the Rockefellers set up their family estate and their legacy plan in the United States, which is obviously different than in Canada. So some of what they did in the US will be relevant to us here in Canada, and some of what they've done won't work under our laws and won't work under the way the CRA manages how we're taxed. So the Rockefeller estate plan. Most of the family fortune is held in 2 trusts. There's a family trust, the 1934 family trust and the 1952 trust, which are managed by Chase Bank. And then these trusts include the interests in Standard Oil Company's descendants and other investments like real estate. And so this fortune was substantial that the family established the Rockefeller Financial Services, which is professional money managers to just oversee the family holding company, one of the first family offices. This enterprise is 5 separate things, which is wealth building, investments, venture capital, family businesses, family liability insurance, and then risk management. We have another great video that's just about the Rockefeller method on estate planning, which has been successful because over 6 generations, they still have money, which is very rare. So additionally, the family has ensured that the trusts remain well-funded by using life insurance policies in the trusts on each passing family member. So when those people pass away, it replenishes the trust with life insurance proceeds. And in their US strategy, this is all through what's called an irrevocable trust. So in Canada, we don't have these in the same way, and taxation on trusts is different here. So there's different kinds of trusts that you can set up in Canada, but generally they all become taxable every 21 years. So the Income Tax Act in Canada deems that the assets of a trust have been disposed for tax purposes every 21 years. So this is where you want to work with a good estate planning lawyer in Canada to set up the right types of trusts and to make sure that the timing of the trust suits your situation. So I obviously have to note here that cash value growth inside a life insurance policy continues to be tax exempt, and the eventual death benefit payout is tax free. So you can hold a life insurance contract as an asset inside the trust, similar to what the Rockefellers did. And you can do that in Canada. Holding life insurance on all the family members ensures that there will be funds in the future as those family members pass away and the death benefit pays out. So now leaving large sums of money to younger or even older children can be problematic in itself, right? How do you ensure that this next generation doesn't get spoiled and they continue to generate value for the family legacy if you give them too much money? So this is where the Rockefellers implemented what's called a family constitution, right? So they created a family constitution to provide future generations with guidance on managing and preserving the wealth. So the document outlines their values, their principles, their expectations, and this ensures that the family legacy will be upheld for generations, even when the original founders are no longer there. This kind of open communication between the generations is really, really important to make sure that if your financial legacy can get passed down well and can live on once you're gone. Now, let's go to the complete opposite side. These are the Vanderbilts. So while the Rockefellers managed to avoid becoming a statistic of the 90% losing their wealth by the third generation, the Vanderbilts stand as a warning and as a reminder that you should make an estate plan. So the Vanderbilts, they were American royalty and they were iconic figures during the Gilded Age. And the history began with Mr. Cornelius Vanderbilt. So he started amassing the family fortune through railroads and through shipping businesses in the late 1800s. So by 1860, Cornelius had become the wealthiest person in America. So he passed this down to his son, William Henry Vanderbilt, who was the richest American in the 70s, or the 1870s and the 1880s. Another notable one that you might know is Gloria Vanderbilt. That's Cornelius's granddaughter. So although she inherited quite a substantial fortune, it had already begun to diminish. Her dad was known for his gambling habit. He blew most of the money, and her mother also threatened her inheritance with a lot of frequent international travel. She was jet set. So Gloria went on to have 4 kids, 4 sons from different marriages. You've probably heard of one of them, Anderson Cooper. He's the CNN news anchor. He's a Vanderbilt. Other notable descendants of the Vanderbilts, this is the 12th Duke of Marlborough, the screenwriter James Vanderbilt, and the current actor Timothy Oliphant. So, but by the time Gloria Vanderbilt died, her estate had gone from $200 million to $1.5 million. She left a New York apartment to her son, Leopold, and then 2 of her other sons didn't really get anything. Most of the estate went to Anderson Cooper, which is $1.5 million. So he makes a little bit more than that as a CNN news anchor. So he's got a firm, actually Anderson Cooper's come out and said he's got a firm stance against passing on large family fortunes. He never expected to inherit money, and he earns about $11 million through his contract at CNN. So he'll be fine. As a father, Anderson Cooper plans to only pay for his son's college education, and then after that, he expects his kids to build wealth on their own. So the Vanderbilt estate plan, let's talk about it for a second. The Vanderbilt legacy was really marked by internal conflict, gambling, alcoholism, extramarital affairs, and even a suicide. So they were once renowned for their lavish spending and for their philanthropy, and that fortune was largely gone by the mid-20th century. And it's said that, even one of Cornelius's grandsons died in poverty. So today, none of the businesses founded by the family remain under their control. And the Vanderbilt fortune's not entirely gone, but it's significantly reduced within just a few generations, with Gloria going from 200 to 1.5. Some generous family trusts still exist, and there's several of the Vanderbilt descendants still are financially comfortable, but their story is really a story of caution. The risks of not having a strong estate plan. So maybe this history of misfortune, which is influenced by Anderson Cooper's decision to reject the idea of even passing down wealth, right? The story of the Rockefellers versus the story of the Vanderbilts, it's a striking contrast in the management and preservation of family fortunes. The differing outcomes of these families is traced straight back to the distinct approaches of their estate plan and their plan for multi-generational wealth management. The Rockefellers succeeded by establishing a strong family constitution. They created several trusts which kept the family fortune together. On top of that, they formed a dedicated entity to manage the financial affairs and the ventures. They ensured the preservation of their wealth over generations, right? So this is called a family office today. Now, in total contrast, the Vanderbilts didn't have a cohesive estate plan. Their fortune was very, very vulnerable to mismanagement. They didn't have a clear plan. A lot of the wealth just went away. It also got separated as people inherited and the money got separated. So they went from being one of the wealthiest families in America in the late 1800s to their assets dwindling completely, where, now a few generations later, Anderson Cooper is going to receive $1.5 million out of what started as potentially billions in today's dollars. So obviously that amount is substantial for most families, but it's a fraction of what it could have been if the family's wealth had been better managed and if there was any sort of planning done. So this is where you can take control of your financial future. So what these families will teach us is that it's important to have a plan for the future. The Rockefellers had a rock solid plan on how to hold on to the wealth and how to pass it on to the generations, while the Vanderbilts really didn't have any sort of concrete plan, which led them down a path of vulnerability, the erosion of their wealth over the years. So now as Canadians, we can't use trusts in the same fashion as the Rockefellers did and still do, but we can use the life insurance in combination with these trusts to get our wealth to our children in a tax-free way and in a safe and efficient manner. You can set up a cash value life insurance plan for them as well. We have a video all about that waterfall method of how to do that, and you can set it up for your family. We want our children to succeed and to keep the family legacy alive. So in a world full of Vanderbilts, be a Rockefeller. If you want to be like the Rockefellers, you can visit our website, safepacific.com. You can book a meeting with us and we'll get back to you within 24 hours to set up a time. Also, please remember, like, comment, subscribe, share. This will help this video go to more people that are like you, who are concerned about their family wealth, and passing on a legacy to the next generation in the correct way with a good team who can make it happen for you. Now, that's it for me today. I will see you next time.